There's a lady. Her name is Janelle English. She is what we have dubbed the inclusivity czar for the Oscars. She was hired last year, and she has since left the employment of the Oscars because she had to deal with macroaggressions and, more importantly, microaggressions from her coworkers.
We've got a $20 one from Disco Jensen. I'm trying to sell a book. In the meantime, here's some juicy unconfirmed taboos from 20 years ago.
Exactly. It's the bad behavior to memoir pipeline that they send every one of these Hollywood celebrities on.
Yeah.
Every single time.
I mean, I wish that we were still in a place in society where abortion was taboo, but
when we were talking about that, like that was a weird thing to kind of come to terms with, where I was like, yeah, back then I guess it would have still been a fairly scandalous story to hear that she had an abortion. Nowadays they would have been like, good for you.
Yeah.
That's what they would say.
Sorry, let's
play the victim card.
Let's reel it back in.
Okay.
All right.
I started reading this woman's piece in the LA Times, and the first sentence, guys, I'm not kidding, says, like most women, I share an intimate relationship with my gynecologist.
It's like the Barbie movie all over again.
If you have an intimate relationship with your gynecologist, I would be worried.
That's problematic. Yeah.
I would report them to the police. Yes, I would. That's worrisome to hear.
It's like you're I like the idea that like she's got like a boyfriend, he's super jealous, and he's going through her phone, and like he's checking all of her speed dials, and number 2 is her gynecologist, and he's like, what the fuck? Okay.
Yeah. So she said that her job as the inclusivity DEI czar for the Oscars was so stressful that she lost her period and finally got it back after resigning. It says, somewhere during my career journey, I forgot to rest. I can easily blame capitalism and perfectionism. Okay.
I love...
and it says both plague disproportionately Black women.
Yes. Only Black women deal with stress and
Right.
and having to make money in a capitalist system.
Another thing that she said was it's far too much pressure to be professional in a job, to speak like an adult, go to work every day, be articulate.
Yeah. Is everyone in this company okay? Should we check on each other?
I think what's weird about this, she also talks about disrupting the system. Like that's a big part of what she says here. She says, I gotta find this
Disrupting
paragraph.
what system?
Yeah, let me see if I can find it here.
In Hollywood, she means?
Yeah, where is it? It says, I became the... let's go through. She says, while working at the Academy, I became the recipient of a steady flux of micro and macro aggressions, she wrote. I anticipated and grew accustomed to being regularly challenged publicly and privately. If you're a professional in a professional setting and you're going to have conflict with other people because that's the nature of the beast at your work, then that's going to happen. It is not a microaggression or a macroaggression to disagree with someone and get into conflict with them at work. That's only true if you're operating under the premise that they're doing so in bad faith and they're not just trying to do their job, but it's actually a narcissistic belief that it's an attack on you to call anything you say into question. That's not how the world works.
She said that there's been a recent exodus of Black women in DEI roles in Hollywood. Is that true?
Like they're saying that a lot of them like got hired after what happened with George Floyd and then COVID, and then like...
Right, it's not an exodus, it's just the fact that the use for their roles got expended and then they got fired or their departments got dissolved because Hollywood no longer needed them to virtue signal. Yeah.
But I gotta find this paragraph. There was just a really funny thing that she said here about disrupting the system, where she says,
what was the case with Disney's DEI?
She's been let go.
She was fired.
Yeah.
Like she didn't step away from the role willingly.
So she goes on to brag, disrupting institutional legacy to facilitate a more equitable awards process and organization. She also quote, contributed to a more inclusive approach to the Academy's work as a film archive and library. Well, like, look, she's talking about being tired. Look, if you're going to be a social disruptor, that's time and energy consuming. I don't really think that you should be allowed to expect to disrupt the legacy of like a company or an industry that's been around for over 100 years. The Academy's been around for like, what, the 80 years? You should at least break a sweat while disrupting the system.
Yeah.
If you're going to be a social disruptor, you should at least expect to be out of breath when you're done doing so.
This is funny. John Nolte's just the best. It's a job, lady. Most people make beds, sweep floors, spray roaches, cut hair, input code, flip burgers, grease engines, milk cows, dig coal, fight fires, clean bedpans. You're almost certainly being overpaid to work for the movies, and we have to sit here and listen to you whine about your joy.
It's all. I mean, it's kind of like look, what like.
I mean, it's not surprising that working in a DEI department would sap you of all of your joy because all of these people are joyless. See you next Tuesdays. Like that's literally what their job is to kill all joy and make everything about interpreting social hierarchies and including people who have a bone to pick with the system.
Mm-hmm.
It's like them in HR departments are probably equally as miserable because they never get to see. It's kind of like cops, right? You don't ever like no cop ever sees you on your best day. A cop never sees you on your best day. He sees you on your worst day, right? Yeah. Like it's a recipe for cynicism and unhappiness. For like at least the cop has the idea of like, look, we're contributing to society by supposedly making a safer world to live in. Whatever your take on that is being true or not, whatever. Mm-hmm. But like her, I guess she has to operate under the premise that I guess she's making Hollywood less racist. So maybe she is just not getting as much joy out of that as she thought she was going to get. We get a $20 one here from Nate. Says party time. Yes, that will exactly contribute to the party. So thank you for that. Thank you so much. But like
this type of person is exactly why Mads Mikkelsen had that viral moment where he laughed in the face of this journalist who said, hey, so since your movie is about Nordic people and isn't racially diverse, how do you feel about the fact that it's not going to be eligible for Oscars under all of these new requirements? Yeah. Mads Mikkelsen assumed off the bat that this journalist was saying it in an antagonistic way, which he was not, and accusing him of being racist for not hiring black people to play like Nordic, people that live in Norway in the 1700s. Mm-hmm. Because killjoys like this are running the administrative departments of everywhere in Hollywood. And it's not even at the point where they've fully rolled out these new Oscars requirements for DEI. That's like they're aiming for like 2026 or something. That's how long this is going to take to fully be realized. And like the consequence is killing creativity.
There's a lot of tepidness. Like I was watching a video earlier from Zach from Comics Matter, who was talking about how like there's no desire to ever be subversive anymore, like actually subversive or actually like edgy, because the people that are there to complain, the ones who are there to constantly nip at you and tell you that what you do is bad, are kind of omnipresent. So these industries, if they really want to regain the foothold they had in American culture, is they would have to be willing to be truly subversive. And doing that now, they call what they do subversive. It's not. Everything that they do now is run through the status quo. But at the end of the day, for this lady, like the average person, regardless of what industry they work in. Well, we got a $20 one here from Grant Arnett. Says, can't wait for Brett to star in Bent Key's next movie, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, as Quasimodo. Maybe I will. Maybe I will. Did you ever think of that? Maybe I will. I could do that. I could absolutely do that. I could be one of the dwarves in this. I'm still willing to be one of the dwarves.
Which one? You get Esmeralda.
Well, not Sleepy, but thank you. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like when we talk about Marion. Sometimes it's party time. Sometimes we will address or talk about like what like the struggles are to do what we do. But at the end of the day, nobody cares. Like the people watching, they don't want to hear about it. They don't want to hear our woe is me story about what makes our job difficult. They want to be entertained by the stuff that we make, and hopefully they are. Mm-hmm. But nobody really, like, I think that's true of all jobs. Like, it's just, you're not gonna, when there's people out there in the mines, when there's people out there working 12 hours a day construction in like boiling hot Arizona weather, right? Like there's just so much in the world. And at the end of the day, my dad would always say, he's like, look, it is weird, but it is true. There's always going to be somebody that has it worse than you.
This sort of reminds me of that gaming studio that had to relent and give like what was it, like unlimited menstrual leave days to their uterus having employees.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like if your period makes it impossible for you to go to work, then you probably just shouldn't have a job because that's like a disability.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things. I just think that the average person, you're never going to be able to truly understand what somebody else's struggles are. So it's very hard to make a whole industry based off the struggles of others, because it doesn't make you a bad person to not be able to 110% relate to what somebody else is going through. And it makes us seem like whiners if we're going to complain about, the things that make our job difficult. Right. So her talking about the microaggressions and the macroaggressions of the doofy losers in Hollywood who aren't treating her with 110% deference. Like, just who cares? And
someone who's constantly writing a mental ledger of every slight infraction that other people are guilty of around them. Like, of course they're going to feel aggressed and victimized. And you're constantly searching for ways to feel victimized.
Well, yeah, they overanalyze everything you say.
Right.
Like,
you know what? It's hard not to, like, I don't know. A lot of people feel sympathetic to the calls for diversity and representation, because they're like, kids need to see characters that look like them when they're growing up, or they're going to feel like something is wrong with them. But it's hard for me when actual tyrants like this exist to respond to that with anything but like, no, like, F you, I don't care about your movement. And I don't feel shy about saying, like, I want to see movies where people look like me. I want to see movies with white people. Yeah. Like, I would like for some movies to still have white people in them by 2030, please. I don't care anymore. I don't have the ability to meet them halfway.
That was like when actually this is the next article we're talking about, but when I went to Victoria's Secret last year, I remember looking at all the models and not a single one looked like me.
Well, we're going to get
when
into
they're
that.
theoretically trying to represent the average woman, right?
Right, exactly. Or like minority women, which I don't think technically Iranians fall under, but being Middle Eastern, I'm like, okay, isn't this supposed to represent me or like non-white people? And I don't see anyone who reminds me of myself who has my skin tone, hair color, eye color, and body type. It's like one or the other.
They either go for someone who's extraordinarily hot or extraordinarily fat and ugly. And nothing in between.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm the in-between.
I'm just never going to care. Like, what they look like in the movies, I don't care. I just don't want them to brag about it like they're changing the world by doing it. Like, I don't care what they look like. Just stop acting like
we shouldn't raise people by telling them, like, you were here to change the world.
Also, frankly, yesterday we were talking on IRL about Ron DeSantis wearing high heels on the campaign trail. I said, what about me?
That confirmed?
There's some hilarious videos. You should go watch them.
His boots have like mega lifts.
But as far as I'm concerned, he's losing the short king vote by not. I want a president I can identify with.
Right, embrace it.
I need a president who I believe that I could beat in an arm wrestling match. Like the point being, right?
Haven't most world leaders been under 6 feet anyway?
I guess what they were saying was like nowadays that's in America that's not going to work. But like back in the day they were all shorter because people were just shorter hundreds of years ago. But now it's like Donald Trump is what, 6'4"?
Yeah, something like that.
So like he towers over people, and Ron DeSantis is like
Is he short? How tall is he?
I saw reports of 5'11", like 5'11", and then his
contrast.
wife's height changed from like 5'5" to 5'9". Theoretically, because like if he's 5'8" and she's 5'5", that explains the height difference. But maybe they changed her height to 5'9" so that he,
appears
the fact that
taller.
he's only a couple inches taller than means, oh, he is 5'11". Like,
Wait,
like
let me see what Google
Where
says.
is my short representation in movies outside of Tom Cruise? Is that all I get?
I feel like there's a lot of short actors.
Yeah, but not. I mean, they're like 5'9".
But not like actually. Tom Holland.
He's 5'8".
5'8".
I believe.
Yeah.
But the average actor. All I'm saying is like if representation matters, then I want the I want the
Okay.
two
Across
different
the
color
board.
eye representation.
Yeah, across the board representation.
Is Ron DeSantis wearing hidden platform heels inside his stupid, ugly boots?
Oh man.
An investigation.
Yes. And my best was what they pointed out. They said somebody was like an opposition research person, like did all the sleuthing on that. It's like, imagine being a person who like went to college for 4 years, gets your degree in political science. Maybe you've also got your law degree. And they're like, could you look up whether Ron DeSantis is putting lifts in his shoes?
This is crazy. No one on earth knows how tall Ron DeSantis actually is.
Yep. He's the Ralph Northam of height. Like the Ralph Northam, they don't know if he was the
Ron
white-
DeSantis should just kind of floof up the hair.
Yes.
we just
make
need him
up
to
for the
stand next
height.
to Donald Trump, then we'll know.
Yep.
Yeah.
There have to be photos.
But then
out there.
he'll be in the heels, so we won't actually know. But even when he's wearing the heels, he's still
Do
shorter
you think
than
people
Trump.
ever cared this much about how tall, like the height of the president?
Like we need it. We
I
need
don't
President
know.
Short King.
Like,
I guess maybe not.
yeah, this is like a great
Maybe
heated
we didn't.
debate. Is he wearing heels or not?
I've heard
He-
multiple
he
women
is.
lately
He totally
say that
is.
they don't actually care about men's height. I think they're lying. At least, if not to themselves, then to
They're-
the public at large.
Women care that a guy is taller than them.
Yeah.
And you're coping, Brett.
No, I just said I think that they care.
No woman actually cares whether a guy is like over 6 foot. They just care about him being taller than them.
Yeah, agreed.
How is that me coping? I'm just saying I've heard it lately. That's not me making a judgment on it. I'm just.
But
saying,
it's like, oh, like women are lying to themselves. Like they're not. Like they only care about him being taller.
We'll let the chat
than
decide
her.
that. We'll let the chat decide. The point being for this article is that it sounds like a miserable job to have to do
Yes.
something like that. But they don't mind doing miserable jobs if it means they can get social capital out of it. So it must have been a truly miserable job for her if her gynecologist helped her come to this conclusion.
Yeah.
Isn't Dane our chief diversity officer?
Yes, he is.
He would be the expert on this.
Well, no, you could be the chief diversity officer now because they're mostly women anyways.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Okay.
As
long as I
But
vaguely
Dane
meet
is
the
every
requirements.
woman.
That's true. You'll have to fight Dane over that position. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.